Okay, good morning, everyone. It's always a pleasure to be here, and hopefully in the next 30 minutes I'll try to just go real quick on a few very interesting things that front-end developers could leverage today in HTML5 APIs. Some of them are quite well supported on all modern browsers, from IE 10 through Firefox, Safari, Chrome, of course, and on mobile web browsers, iOS or Android, doesn't matter. We won't have too much time, so two things. One, if you have any questions, feedback afterwards, it could be on G+, or on Twitter, Greenido, one word, on both of them. Just feel free to ping me on any questions that related or not related to Google platforms. With just 5 seconds of what I do in Google, Google Developer Advocate role is basically the chain that connecting developers to Google and vice versa. So we are basically 50% with ears to the developers and trying to bring your feedback back into Google and then trying to make you more productive on Google products. And it's, luckily to me, open web products. So it's not just bounding to Google, it's all the open web. And what I'm doing is mostly focusing on HTML5, Chrome, and Chrome OS. So yeah, you can't see anything. That's not good. Let's try to mirroring. Now it should be better. Okay, so what we'll do today, and first, so this is the link if you want to follow up later. So what we'll do today, we'll speak real quick on modern web apps, try to set the land of what we are aiming or targeting when we're talking about modern web apps. And then we'll try to real quick going on a few things that are quite common or used to be common when we thought about pages and not apps on the web. And then go through the normal process of design, coding, testing, debugging, and hopefully we'll have some demos just to show the power of few APIs. Last but not least, I'll just try to encourage you to check Google Cloud Endpoints, which is a new product that we released a year ago. And this year, we got a new framework for you to the ones that love to develop not on Java. So it could be Python, Go, or PHP. So modern web application, when we're coming to speak about modern web application, we see few things that are quite common to all the great apps. Most of them will be self-contained, so we'll have one real estate. The user is not flipping between pages. In lots of them, we're coming with the offline first methodology, so the app is letting the user be productive even where there are flaky connection or no connection at all. A good example for that will be Gmail Offline, Google Docs, and other products that just giving the user the ability to still be productive and do the main goals of the app. Lots of them are using some sort of MV star framework because we are transferring more and more logic to the client, and we want to make sure that we will be able to maintain this code and not have the normal spaghetti code that we're having after the project is growing on a certain size. And that's, I think, one of the main reasons why we see a flourishing in all the MV star frameworks. And I'll just mention a few. Device aware, as you all know, people are now consuming your web apps, your sites from a wide range of devices, from screens that are 2-inch by size up to tablets, desktop, laptops, and TVs. So you definitely want to do the best with the real estate that the device is giving you. And that's why we see all the buzzwords, the good buzzwords about responsive designs and making sure that you are doing the best with the real estate that the screen or the browser is giving you. Pref Matter, we use, thank you. We used it in last Google I/O, and actually we're trying to push it forward and forward. It's no secret that users love snappiness and fast, and it's being reflected in each and every metric that you are measuring. It could be the click-through rate, it could be the conversion rate, it could be lots of other metrics. If it's faster, it's better. And you could see good research from Facebook, Google, Yahoo, Amazon, and so many others. So you do want to focus on making sure that you are working as efficient as possible on the client. Offline, or why we need offline, so there's lots of reasons here, but I will just focus on the performance because this is the one and only reason that making your user happier, so you definitely want to do it. One thing that I used in all the demos here is Launcher, which is just an abstraction layer that giving you the ability to work in this complex world of different browsers that are supporting different technologies. How we could achieve it? So in HTML5 today, luckily, we have a wide range of APIs that letting you do it quite easily. And actually, the main challenge is not to store data offline on the client side. That's actually pretty easy, and I'll show you the code. It's really, really simple code. It's more of making sure that you are syncing to the cloud, to the source of truth, in the right moment, what you want to actually extract from the client and put it in the one source of truth in the cloud. So the syncing layer is the more challenging aspect. Just to store things on the client, AppCache is giving you the ability to store the skeleton of the app. So think of like any native app. You download it first, and basically you just download the skeleton. And now the app is making the connections and making sure that it's bringing the data so the user could work with it. Just take, for example, a Twitter client. That's exactly what will happen. And in the web today, very easily we could do just the same. So AppCache will hold the JavaScript, HTML, and CSS that are the skeleton of our app. And then once we have this logic in place, we could make a connection and bring the data and make the user effective. One important thing is that we do want to use APIs like local storage, IndexedDB, and File API, basically to give the user the ability to work efficiently when they don't have a good connection or fast connection, and give the response as fast as possible because we save the data locally. And then in the background, using web brokers or any other way to communicate this data to the server. So the offline first methodology, like the coin that Eric Schmidt termed a few years ago, mobile first, it's definitely worth to start with offline first methodology. So think about the case where the user doesn't have any connection and then build on top of it. And in the API today, so navigator.online will give you the answer, the Boolean answer, if the user got a connection or no connection. And soon in W3C specs, we'll have the ability to know what is the quality of the connection. But right now, it's good enough. How are we working with AppCache? I put here just an hello world example. By the way, all the slides are actually live right now, so you could surf to them in ido-green.appspot.com, and the demos, of course. So AppCache, just if you could see here, basically we're just adding an attribute to the HTML, making sure that the browser will know that we want it to cache this file. And from that moment, basically all those files will be cached, and the browser will check each time that it's approaching the net. If this file has been changed, those files will be bring to the browser locally. If we're changing this file, and the good hack to change it is just to put a comment with the version number, the browser will know that we have a new version and it will go to the server to bring it. So a very, very easy way to do it. Of course, you don't want to cache this manifest file because you won't be able to upgrade your app. And there's a link here to a great tutorial that will make your first experience with AppCache a pleasant one. In terms of storage APIs, you could see here the adoption in modern browsers, and those are the main ones. It's true that we have today a deprecated API, the WebSQL from 2010. Basically, it's deprecated, but if you want a mobile web apps, you will need to work with it because it's supported on iOS. One way to avoid it is to use the last bullet here, which is an abstractor layer that basically giving you IndexedDB option that underneath will work on WebSQL. So you could be productive and work just with one layer of code that is communicating to IndexedDB on Android and Chrome. And if you do have an iOS device that the user is using, it will use the same code and will use underneath it the WebSQL. So that's just one option. The other is Launcher, which is basically a very nice abstraction library that giving you the best of what the user is giving you. So if they got an old browser just with local storage, that is a sync API, it will use it. If it got something more robust like IndexedDB, it will use that. And if you want to work with files like in any other platform, real files, you could also do that with a plugin there. So let's go just quickly about some design aspects and what we're changing these days from the old way of giving the design to getting the design from a designer that is working in Photoshop and giving us PSD. Today, I see lots and lots of startups and big organizations that are trying to work more agile and more quickly and rapidly, that trying to basically do the initial design in HTML. So we have those sets of wireframe, or just trying to communicate as soon as possible between all the point of interest to the app itself, what we're going to do. And actually with HTML and CSS, it's quite easy today, and we could accomplish quite a lot of mileage without being too distracted and too cumbersome. When we want to just make it a bit better and we add functionality, usually it will be done with JavaScript. And then we have almost a prototype that we could play it. And then the polish that actually distinct the amateur from the professional ones, because you could see that the app is really, really well done when the professionals are doing in this stage their magic, and the app is really working nicely and smoothly. A great example for that is Fastbook that Sancha did. And you could see how you could do today quite amazing things in HTML5. And when others that are less professional are doing it, you could see that it's taking a bit of time and it's sluggish and lots of things that are not that well done. And then, of course, we'll go to the testing, put it in production, and going and iterate over and over again as quickly as we can, because that's the strength of any startup. One or few things to note: we are not speaking today about pages. It's more and more going to apps. And I would less focus about the specific definition of what distinguishes an app from a site. It's quite blurry, and like we all know, the world is not black and white, it's usually gray. But we do want to have the ability to work with apps and to work with components and to have encapsulation and objects. And luckily for all of us, it's going to be here very, very soon. So we have web components, and if you want to taste how it feels to work with real components on the web, AngularJS with directives giving you exactly that today. Less is more. Usually on great web apps, you see that they are really, really focused. So they won't do lots of things. They will try to do one thing, but do it really, really well. When we're going and starting to building, a few of the main points is just not to reinvent the wheel and try to use wheels that are already out there and are working quite good. Here are just a few links to make sure that you won't need to do tedious work that someone already solved quite nicely. And it's going from the code by leveraging and using design patterns, and it's going to the design itself when you have the ability to see, okay, people that are quite successful did list in those specific ways. Maybe we could mimic it because it's working really nice for us. And please just don't let web or enterprise be an excuse to, okay, it's really, really not a polished well app. Lots of things are changing, and when we want to try and start a design, there are quite lots of online tools that let you be more creative and communicate it easily between all the parties in your organization. And it could be the development, the designer, the product. I put few here like Balsamiq and Creately, but there are plenty of others. And one of the things that we could let ourselves cut the corner is to use the device aspect ratio of the screens and just say something like, okay, for 4:3 we'll make one design, for 16:9 we'll make another design, and then for desktops. I'll show afterwards in the code how easy it is to do to make sure that we have one model that containing the data and then 3 views for phone, tablets, and let's say laptops or desktop. In terms of adaptive apps, we want, of course, to share the same model and to work on the same data, and then to have different views that will do the best and will communicate it to our server, to our users. And here you could see the 3 simple examples. And when we're coming and talking about progressive enhancement, I think Nicholas Zechman did the best analog that if you have it and you have an old browser to the user, let him be productive. Maybe you won't have neat features like drag and drop or transition, but at least they could be productive and, I don't know, write the email. And if the browser is supporting more, of course, you could add all the great abilities that your app is giving them. When we're coming to building, we touch about it, but the basic notion is exactly here. So we'll have a clear separation between the data and the views. The views could be targeted for each and every use case that we want to support. And in most of the MV Star framework, it will be quite similar to share the information and to make sure that the information is being held and reflected in the model. So in some of the frameworks, we'll have two-way data binding, so each action that the user is making will be reflected in the model itself, and vice versa. And in some we have just one-way data binding, that it's just in one direction. It doesn't matter, and you probably want to choose the best tool for the job that you are doing. I choose here to just put the light on Angular. I won't speak about Angular more than 15 seconds, but I highly encourage you to check it. It's one of these open source projects that started in Google. It's being used a lot internally and externally. And luckily for all of us, it's now open source and it's out there. What I personally really like about Angular that is very different from other frameworks that are out there is that it's taking a new approach to HTML. It's coming with the notion of HTML was great for static sites at 96, 95. Let's see how HTML could be transformed and let us do dynamic things. So it's changing the markup itself, and we don't need to learn anything new in order to work with Angular. Actually, if you'll try it and do a quick test drive, you'll see how readable the code is, because you're already familiar with HTML, and it's changing the HTML with certain attributes. Other really neat things are the dependency injection and testability that are building and baking into the platform from the beginning. So some extremely smart guys are working on it, and they came with a heavy Java background. So they took the dependency injection and the testability and give it to Angular. And from what I know, it's the only framework that's giving you those capabilities today. This is just one framework. I put the link here that Eddie Osami, my colleague, did a great compression that you do MVC. So it's the hello world of the MVC worlds, and just highly encourage you to check other options, because it might be that for your next project, actually a different framework will do the job better. When we're coming and speaking about the world today, basically in most of the cases, you'll want to build a strong API and then consume it from different platforms. It could be Android, it could be iOS, and it could be the web. We'll want some kind of a RESTful API, and this will be a very common use case to how we want to consume it. And we'll have a live demo so you could play with it and see it. Let's have just few demos. Can you see it? Yeah, okay. So let's start with the trivial one. So the trivial one here is just to get the geolocation, and I'll make the code even bigger. So basically, we're doing a simple feature detection just to see if we have the ability in the browser. If not, we'll communicate it. So we'll say that we don't have it. But if we have it, you can see quite quickly how easy to get the geo point. What I put here, and we won't have time to dive into it, but just feel free to go to this location and do view source. All the JavaScript is actually bounded in the HTML, so it will be easy to read it. I basically got from this point the address, and it's 3 lines of JavaScript with using Google Map API. So extremely easy to use it and do a lot more than just getting a point. Another cool API, the local storage. You could see here that if I'm opening DevTool, let's make it so it will be readable. And then I'm saving something like, hey, let's refresh it. So let's assume that I want to save these default values, and I'm storing it, and then I want to retrieve it. So I have the key, I have the value, I'll retrieve it. Of course, it will come. And if I'll change the key itself, we'll get undefined. And it's extremely easy protocol to work with. So basically, you're taking the local storage, do a set item with a key value. It will be sync, so you do want to use a large payload in the value and few keys, so it won't block anything unless you're working with web workers. And in terms of fetching it, it's window local storage, just getting the key itself. And the beauty in Chrome DevTools is that you could go to resources and see here all the values and work with them and debug them. So another extremely easy way to work. If you want to see which browser is supporting it, you could do something like local storage here, click on it, and then it's opening for you caniuse.com, that giving you the ability to see that which browser on which version are supporting it, what is marked actually here in yellow, the current version. You could see that it's basically supported all over except Opera Mini. Summary. So you all know that writing less code is great because you don't need to read a lot and you could easily maintain it, and the ability to do things like expandable elements like this could be done today just with the elements detail and summary, and it's supported on all browsers. So without any JavaScript, you're basically getting this ability. WebRTC, basically get user media API and have the ability to consume video and audio from the browser. If you noticed here, I got this warning that the browser, this page, wish to gain access to my camera, and I will give it the access. And soon you could see, yeah, for my camera that actually I'm passing the video that my machine now is producing, and all the code for it is really, really few line of code. So basically I'm getting attached the get user media with the certain prefixes. It's now supported on Chrome and WebKit, so it will be Chrome and Safari. And the beauty here is that in my case now I'll just take the video, and the beauty here is that very easily I'm setting here, of course, a successful callback and an error callback, and in the successful callback I'm just using the video tag. I'm not using anything new. So in this case I'll get the video from this query selector that I already put, and I'll attach to video source. Instead, in the old days, I just took an MP4 file and attaching it to it. Now all I'm doing is taking the local media, the whole that I get from the screen, and attaching it to create object URL, and then it's doing the streaming. And when I'm clicking, actually I'm executing the play here, you could see that I'm having it here, and I could do whatever I like with this stream. The same works with audio, which is quite nice. Visibility, as you can see here, I have all those events being on the screen, and today we have the ability to attach a listener and see when our tab or window is visible or not. Very efficient to stop the video when the user is not watching it and conserve the battery of the device, and lots of other things that you could do when the user is not paying attention. Device aware, so just to know where the device is in the 3D spectrum. So you have those 3 parameters, and it's working quite nicely on the big mobile platforms that are out there. So these are just few quick APIs, and there are plenty of more, but just feel free to check it out. Client-side downloads, we used to have the ability to do downloads with a hack from the server. Today we're just adding this download attribute, and you could basically create your own editor in the browser with no backend at all. I won't show it, but the link is here, and feel free to check it out. Transferable object, one of the main things that I think hold back web workers and the ability to off some of your work from the main thread of the browser was the ability to do to actually take big objects and moving them to a different worker. And it was quite heavy because we did a copy operation. Luckily for us, it's now a move operation. So with transferable object, we basically just moving a pointer. And the only difference that you need to do in the post message is just to add this last array buffer attribute. The link here will just giving you a demo page that's showing you that transferring 40 meg of object is consuming 3 milliseconds instead of 240. In terms of device API, we're getting stronger and getting much closer to the metals on all aspects. And here there are just few APIs that are available today. I highly encourage you just to check them out and see what's making sense for your projects. 2 things to note here are the link on the side. If you do want to use a new feature, please make sure that it's supported on the browsers that are interesting you. So you want to check on Google Analytics or any other analytic tool that you have, and then you want to go to these 2 sources to make sure that the browsers will support it. So we spoke about the client, and of course, its flourishing environment. in all the cases, or in most of the cases, we'll do want to have this source of truth in the cloud and have a server that will contain the information. Luckily for us, we have this ability with the PaaS solution, with the platform as a service that we have in Google. And here are lots of good reasons why you don't want to maintain and build and be the best administrator in the world. You want to focus on what moves the needle for your users. And you definitely want the scaling and maintainability of the servers to be someone else's job. So luckily in Google App Engine, which basically is the platform that Cloud Endpoint is sitting on, you have the ability to do it. And from this year, actually a month and a half ago, PHP was added there. So those are the technologies that you could use and leverage it. Python, Go, and Java, of course. Here are just the good reasons why you do want to focus on what's interesting you, like monetization strategy, and definitely not on some things that have been done in the past few hundreds of thousands of times, but you'll need to be expert like DNS, load balancing, caching, and lots of things that are not necessarily in your line of business. What you're getting in Cloud Endpoint is few really key features, in my opinion. One is the discovery document. So you're getting a JSON object that's describing your API. Exactly like you see here in the example Google API, you'll get the same benefits. So from a declarative way that you are describing your API, the get, the set, the update, you're immediately getting this description. It will be really easy to pass it to the backend guys, let's say, and making sure that everyone is working against specific document that is keeping updated once the users are changing it. Users, I mean developers. Another benefit that you're getting is that you have libraries in all the technologies that you could dream of. And there are many others, by the way. So you already have the library to work nicely with your API, not just Google API. So GAPI will let you do it. And you'll be able basically to work really nice. Let's say that you have your API for a picture application. So getting a picture, setting a picture, etc., will be bound in this library. Here is just a simple example that's showing you the URL shorter, but you could imagine that your API will work exactly the same. And then, of course, you could consume it from each and every platform. So here are just a few examples how easy it is to consume this API. And in my case, it was a picture app that is quite similar to other picture apps that you know. And you could see the REST API here and then what we're getting from the server. Insert would be quite the same. Here is an example of the drag and drop that we're doing. And by the way, all the links here, I don't have time now to show it, but when you want afterwards, just click on the links and you'll be able to play with it. And of course, just a simple list. This is the URL to play with the app itself. And the beauty here is that after you're connecting to the app, go and just on your mobile browser, just kill the internet, and you could see that you could still take photos from the app. It will save them locally, and after that you're connecting again, it will do the right thing with the server. And of course, it's working from browser. So we saw the notion of smart clients, and I think the main things is that the ability to work offline and then making sure that you are syncing on the right time. And of course, you do want to make sure that you don't repeat yourselves in code and in calls. So it's both for code and data. Chrome DevTools, I won't have time to enter it, but there are lots of good new things that you could do it. It's becoming more and more IDE in the browser. And one of the really cool things is that it's letting you debug and test your mobile web apps while you are still in Chrome, just connecting the Android app through a USB, and you basically be able to drive your DevTool on the browser from the mobile device that it's connecting to. There's lots of great links here that you could check later on. This is how it looks like when you are debugging your mobile web app. So main takeaways, I think, is that you do want to make sure that you're building a robust API. Google Cloud Endpoint is one option. There are basically lots of others. I would check it and see if it's fitting the needs. In terms of HTML5 APIs, making a lot of sense to check what they are, and in most cases, I guess it will be very beneficial to work with them. If you need to be really close to the metal, it might be that a native approach would be better, but I will definitely check it. And AngularJS is just my passion, but feel free to check it or check others. And just try to leverage modern features that you have in browsers today. Lots of them are pretty cool. I think we have like 3 minutes for questions, so I'll be more than happy to try and answer them. I know it's too early, so it's fine. Okay, so the links are here. If someone have any question afterwards, just feel free to ping me. And thank you very much and have a great day.